Also, I accidentally clicked go live a little early, so we can't talk about that anymore.
Oh, would you have banned for talking about it?
No, I just don't want people to know that we just.
I'm gonna tell everyone.
Really? While I'm doing this, let me also do my routine thing. So, did you want tea?
Sure, if that's okay.
Which one?
Can you try peppermint, please?
Okay.
Thank you. Are you sure I can't make it, or should I just stay here?
You can stay there if you want.
I can make it too.
Because I just want somebody. You can just chill there, and then if people come in, just place them on each.
Sure.
Because I'm doing like the notification stuff right now.
Okay. Alright, I'll do that then. Okay. Hello. We accidentally started the stream a little too early, so still waiting. But how have you been, Mobile? Good, I hope. Hope you can hear me. It should be on. Been good. Yeah, I've just been I've been busy, but in general, pretty good. Yeah. Sorry, I'm not very interesting when I'm by myself, so. Hey, hello. There's a few people so far. Yeah. Santa's here.
Hey y'all. The disembodied voice.
The voice of God.
God?
It is he. What's everyone doing on post New Year's?
Fresh 2021.
Oh yeah, it is Sunday.
Time doesn't
Indeed
exist. Time
Sunday.
isn't real.
Yeah. I think we can agree for the last 9 months? 10 months? 10 months. Time's just been an illusion. So it is Sunday. Yeah, I forgot how we came up with this subject. Actually, I forget what we were talking about, but what were we talking about? I don't remember what we were talking about, but yeah, it's a cool topic. And hello everyone, happy Sunday. I don't want to say good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, because I'm not sure what time it is where mobile lives right now. But anywho, for everyone in California, good afternoon. Check something.
The smells mixed together a little bit when I was like pouring them, and then it started to smell like medicine, and I was like, I don't like that.
I mean, it's tea and mint, right?
Earl Grey and mint, yeah.
Oh, is there a mint?
No, I put Earl Grey in mine.
Oh, gotcha.
The 2 cents of our teas mixed. Oops.
Some other things mixed or didn't.
Hello, God.
I'm sorry.
I would like to
Arrest
have
me, please.
an open discussion
Please.
with God.
I'm just trying to remember how we came up with the topic, but I couldn't.
Oh.
It's just like, I forgot specifically what we were talking about. But it was something.
I don't remember.
Okay.
I
I don't know.
We always remember the topic, but we never really remember where it comes from.
We talk too much. That's
we do.
Our problem. No.
This is actually a severely unhealthy relationship.
Sure.
We talk too much.
I want to come put your lips. No. Sorry, I couldn't help it.
You almost got it. The one thing that I do want to talk about is something that I saw on Twitter that I don't know if you've seen yet. Have you heard about Bean Dad?
Bean Dad?
Yeah. Or like the
so.
trending topic 6 hours. It's just the example of like bad parenting. But we'll talk about that. First of all, hi Mobile, hi Xana, hi Rivia. Hi to the other 3 people who are apparently here because it says 6 viewers. But okay, so Bean Dad / the trending topic on Twitter called 6 hours is basically this dad who was like, he was doing a puzzle, you know, like a jigsaw puzzle, and he was just chilling, and then his daughter comes up to him and is like, oh, she's like holding a can opener, and then she's like, Dad, what's like, or I think she just actually goes up to him, I'm just gonna read it.
So someone posted a video or someone?
No, this was like it's a long Twitter thread for no reason, but
Interesting.
Oh, well, I just also saw that the guy who posted it also just said the N-word with the hard R, so we're looking
Oh.
really good here. Okay, so we'll preface it just by saying, so yesterday my 9-year-old daughter, was hungry, and I was doing a jigsaw puzzle, so I said over my shoulder, make some baked beans. She said, how? Like all kids do when they want you to do it, so I said, open a can and put it in a pot. She brought me the can and said, open it how? And then basically he like comes to this realization that he's never actually taught his daughter how to like open a can that's not like a
Twist.
like a crack top, you know, the one with like the little tab.
Yeah.
So like this is just a can of baked beans, so it's got like you have to use a can opener, and she's a 9-year-old, so obviously she doesn't have like the mental dexterity to figure out a fucking can opener yet.
Yeah.
Or like
She's getting there.
Yeah, she's getting there. Like
Yeah.
she's pretty close, and if she like looked at it for a while, she probably could. But like she brings him the can opener, and then she's like, I don't know how to do it, and then he literally just lets her sit there for 6 fucking hours trying to figure out how to operate a can opener, so that she can eat like dinner.
Yeah.
So she approaches him at 9 years old and is like, hey dad, I know you're doing a jigsaw puzzle right now, but I'm hungry. It would be great if perhaps we could get some food. And he was like, okay, sit on the floor for 6 hours, get angry, cry, like be completely unable to figure this out because you are addled by your hunger. And like figure this shit out for yourself. And so like of course there's a lot of people like upset about that because it's like, you know, granted like that is quote unquote an appropriate way to like teach somebody something where it's just like, oh yeah, like if you can like just try to examine it and then try and figure it out and then try and do it yourself. If you can't figure it out, I'll help you.
Right.
Not for 6 hours.
Yeah, I was like, there's got to be a certain point where you realize your kid's not gonna get it.
It's called
Without
like
your
15
help.
minutes.
Yeah.
15 minutes, I
wait
lose
10
my
minutes,
patience.
Probably. Yeah.
But like,
Crazy.
yeah, and then somebody pointed out that it's like that kind of like treatment of the daughter has basically told her at that point, because she's still impressionable. She's in 3rd grade. It's really hot, probably.
Okay.
I poured it when it was like still boiling.
Well, thank you for the tea. I don't know if I said thank you.
No, it's okay. But yeah, and some people were saying like, oh, like, you know, she's 9, she's impressionable, and now the point that you've taught her is not how to use a can opener. It's that your puzzle is more important than feeding her. And I was like, whoa.
Yeah, and it's also like, it's so whack to me when parents are like, I refuse to help my child, because that's the first thing we learn as most animals learn this at a really, you know, when they're born, unless, you know, even precocious animals will understand that the first tool that they have is the ability to ask for help.
Yeah.
So it's like, if you're not going to receive that help, that's a very fucked up way of saying, like, you can ask me, I'm not going to give it to you.
Yeah.
Basically. And it's like, well, that's whack because I'm a human child and that's all I know at this point. Yeah.
And like that's just another like just one of the many vicious cycles, I think, where it's just like there's this weird mentality of like, oh, humans have to be individualistic to survive. Humans have to like be able to fend for themselves. And it's like, no, we literally are descended from like tribes, clans,
community.
Yeah, communities.
Yeah.
And it's like,
yeah,
where did this idea of individualism come from? Like, it's not necessary, and it doesn't, in the long run, it's not going to benefit us. If we're operating purely on individualism, we shouldn't be getting married. We shouldn't be procreating, because that's you know, asking for assistance and procreating our bloodline.
Right. Yeah.
Just doesn't make sense to me.
It's just that's the most powerful thing, you know. And when we become adults, like, we kind of forget that's, you know, for whatever reason, you know, a lot of it is just, again, the internalization of just the self and the individual. But yeah, people forget, like, one of your biggest, like, I don't know, one of your biggest, like, most powerful tools that you can use anywhere in life is ask for help. That's why, if you don't know, ask for help.
Yeah, it's why questions exist. It's why charisma exists. It's why the ability to fucking network and be a human being exists. It's why friends exist. What the fuck?
Yeah.
But yeah, like I would give her
sugar.
like 10, 15 minutes to just kind of like sit there and
Mhm.
contemplate it.
Yeah.
But like I chances are she's probably not gonna get it because she's just thinking about fuck, I want to eat. I'm so hungry right now.
Right. Exactly.
So it's like if she can't figure it out, then like okay, obviously I'll show her and I'll be like, hey, watch this. So next time that like you can do it for
Mhm.
yourself.
Yeah.
And then if you still have questions, like we'll talk about it then.
Mhm.
But like, yeah, I would like do it for her, and I'd be like, okay, like this is what you do, this is how you do it, and then you twist this part. If you can't twist it, then just let me know. I'll help you twist it.
Right,
but
right.
I'm still teaching you, but I'm also giving you fucking food. What? Like
as your guardian.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm supposed to feed you. That's my job. That's why I
Exactly.
had you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it just like
so
doesn't
bad.
make sense to me that he would literally just let her sit there for 6 hours, and at
Mhm.
one point she literally just like leaves the room, and it's
Yeah.
just like I don't want to deal with this anymore because I'm fucking hungry.
Yeah.
I just wanted beans, Dad. When he can't figure out how to
Yeah.
connect his iPad 20 to the Wi-Fi in 30 years, you can let him sit there with it for 6 hours and then he figures it out. Let him sit with it until he fucking dies. I don't care.
Yeah, it's embarrassing, but I still can't open cans all the time, so I ask my mom or my brother to help. I don't know. I can never get like it to like latch on right sometimes.
Oh yeah, normally people like so if here's the can, people will do it so the can opener is like this, right?
Right.
I do
yeah.
it like this.
Yeah,
and it works
'cause
like
ours is different. Yeah,
It works like
it's-
100% of the time.
It's weird.
Yeah.
But also, I think as a kid, I cut myself really bad on the can. That when it came off, and then and then I cut myself, and I think I was like, I'm never doing this again. Yeah,
Yeah,
so I was asked for help.
Corn. I
Yeah.
got gotten by a
Got
can of
cracked by
corn.
corn. I forgot what it was for me. But it was something. It was a can. It was in a can. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Parents who use the guilt trip, like, I birthed you. You should be thankful. And then I
Yeah.
bring up the argument. Well, I didn't ask to be born. The guy who sued his parents because
Oh,
remember
yeah,
that case? There's a guy
yeah.
who sued his parents because he did not ask to exist, and
Godspeed to him.
Yeah.
He's right.
he's right though. He did. I think he actually won to a certain extent
Oh.
because that's true. Like none of us, technically, no one really asked to be put into
This
existence.
hellscape of a planet.
Yeah, absolutely awful when, my parents pulled a birth card.
Yeah. I don't know. Is that a? I don't think that's a. Well, it might. Nah.
Mhm.
Would you qualify that as another like quote unquote vicious cycle? Maybe.
Maybe because kids will learn that's like
And
an
then do
excuse,
that to their
and then
kids,
do that
yeah.
to kids that they have. So I think it's definitely has the potential to be perpetuated if that person doesn't seek, doesn't talk about it or see a therapist or gets kind of like help for internalizing things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So bad
think-
parenting.
I feel like the biggest solution that we're gonna be able to like offer for this is just therapy.
Therapy.
But like the problem with that is that like we live in shithole America where like nobody, a lot of people can't afford therapy,
Yeah.
stuff like that. So it's like, how are we supposed to? I feel like America's just gonna grind itself into a fucking little puddle of dust, and it's
Yeah.
what they deserve.
Yeah, well, I think there are definitely channels to navigate where therapy is widely available, or at least much more accessible than it would be. I forget. I mean, I'm very lucky that I'm under my parents' insurance and it's dual insurance. So everything is kind of covered for me, so I'm very privileged in that respect. But I've heard through my therapist of other ways to figure it out. And he's a social worker, so he could reach like impoverished communities and people who can't necessarily afford therapy. So I think if you can find someone like that, maybe I should just recommend Tom. Hey guys, I'm my therapist. Yeah. So I think there are ways definitely to kind of get across that hurdle and be able to afford therapy, but it's definitely, for the most part, it's still definitely very hard to very hard to navigate on your own.
Yeah.
For sure. That's my spiel on therapy. I don't know if it helps, but
yeah, like I don't know. It's
sorry, fuzz.
dusty as hell. Look at that.
Oh yeah.
My
Spider
sandpaper
webs.
hair.
Where is No Doubt when you need her?
No Doubt?
Yeah.
Who's that?
The singer for Spiderwebs.
What's Spiderwebs?
The song? You never heard? I said I was singing it at karaoke once.
What is it? What are the lyrics?
It's the chorus. I'm too embarrassed to sing.
You don't have to sing it. That's why I just asked what the lyrics are.
It's like, I'm walking into spiderwebs, leave a message and I'll call you back. I have to sing it.
Just sing it for me later, or we'll just listen to it later.
Sorry, I can play it right now if you want.
No, because then I'll get banned.
Oh, you're right. Never mind. Sorry.
No, you're fine.
I know I'm embarrassed. I sang that. Well, I did have a few drinks in me, so maybe that's why. But
I'm just always embarrassed to sing. I don't sing ever.
You should. We should sing.
Xana, I thought we were supporting each other.
Yeah, sorry. We see some spider webs. I think of No Doubt, which, if you're cultured, you'll know who I'm talking about. Not unlike this guy. You're kidding. Also, my highlight looks great today. I look very glowy.
Sorry, I'm not cultured. I'm white.
I know. Once.
What are you gonna do? But
I was thinking of something, and then have you seen that one video of the mom and her kids like trying to like piece? I think it was something not like a puzzle, but it was something like you put the square in the square hole or something like that. I think it was like shapes. And she got mad that he didn't get it, so she just slapped it out.
The mom?
Yeah.
Oh, I will beat her ass.
I was so pissed off. I was like, are you kidding me? Like, he was way younger than 9. He was like 3 or 4. And the fact that he was struggling, he's like, oh, I don't know. Like, I think it's this. And she's like, no, that's wrong. And she just slaps it out of his hand. And I was like, I hope she posted it on Twitter too, so I was like, I really hope she gets reported or child services comes, because that's fucked up.
A really fucked up thing is that parents do that, like for clout, for internet clout.
Oh, okay, maybe that's what it was.
Yeah, then. But it's like, children are not something that you have to like farm internet clout.
Oh, they're not? Hold on, I gotta make a few phone calls.
Oops. But I mean, granted, like if it's like a sweet, like wholesome thing, then like post it on the internet and like that's like fine and good and whatever. Don't put your child through unnecessary trauma so that you get some fucking likes on Twitter.
And I was like, what an awful mom for, like, that's a violent outburst, to her kid. To us,
for no fucking reason.
As adults,
too.
we're like, oh, like you can protect yourself. As a, watching it, I'm like, oh. I'm an adult, I wouldn't be, I'd definitely be angry, but I wouldn't be afraid. But that kid is definitely all he knows to be scared of his mom.
That's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, it was viral a while ago because people were calling around and they were like, that's not funny.
Yeah, it's
not enjoyable in the slightest. And
I thought you were going to talk about the one that's going viral like right now. But it's just like a dude with like the same exact thing where it's just like putting the shapes in the holes and stuff.
It's a square.
The square hole.
Wait, half circle.
Square hole.
She's like, no.
I just love that he says square hole the same way like every single time. Like, it's just like,
that's right. The square hole.
I'm just like, I guess he's right.
With a voice like that, I can't fight it.
He has to be right.
Yeah, no, I was thinking, at least I think that's what it was. Or maybe he was trying to read and he wasn't even getting the word. And I'm like, he's literally 3 or 4. Yeah,
it's like, shit like that is. Oh, you know what? This is actually perfect. First of all, hi, Josh. Josh works with children.
Oh, okay. So, I worked with children once upon a time.
Well, you worked with
privileged children. Yeah, unfortunately.
I was thinking of
trust fund babies. That. Yeah.
But yeah, 5 to 17. Yeah, that's decent actually. I think.
Ages?
Yeah, ages.
Wow, that's a big range.
He rated them out of 100.
Okay. Yeah, I'd rate them about the same.
But no, we were just talking about like children
bad
and stuff.
Parents.
Yeah, bad parents, because there's that thing going around on Twitter right now where the dad like made his daughter sit in starvation for like 6 hours when she couldn't figure out how to open a fucking can of beans for dinner.
Yeah.
And then Andrea mentioned was it like a long time ago?
It was like maybe early last year.
Early last
2020. Like
Yeah.
2019 maybe.
So there was a video from like late last year or late 2019 where
Yeah.
like a mom was like sitting with her kid who was trying to do one of those like little like shape like
I think
toy
it was.
things.
I don't remember exactly.
Yeah.
Either that or he was trying to read. I don't remember. One
and
of the two.
he like couldn't figure it out because he was like a fucking tiny little child.
Toddler, yeah.
Yeah, and then the mom like got mad and just like had a violent outburst and smacked that shit off the table.
Yeah.
And like both of those instances are like not okay in the slightest. The can opener Bean Dad one for hi Jess. The Bean Dad one is like kind of okay because it's like a quote unquote valid way of teaching where you just kind of like try and have them figured out for themselves. But like we said before, not for 6 hours.
At that point, it's neglect.
Yeah.
I think. Whereas
when
the
you're
mom
doing your
was
fucking
straight up
jigsaw
abusive.
puzzle.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Awful.
Actually ridiculous.
Yeah.
But the main topic that we were talking about today was less so like parenting and stuff, more so
I'm sorry. It's very charged.
Yeah.
But that's essentially what it is.
We'll
that's the best way I could describe it.
We'll get around to calling it that. But we're going to talk about like the quote unquote vicious cycle of like
sorry. It's really hard to not say it. Okay.
Yeah. Basically, like, you go on, like, TikTok. You go on Instagram. I don't have a Facebook, so I don't know if it's prevalent on Facebook. But,
I wouldn't know.
Yeah, I don't know. But it's, like, it's this weird little perpetuation of young girls, like, 15, 16, 17. I've even seen, like, 14, where it's just, like, they, for whatever reason, feel the need to just, like, coat themselves in makeup or dress themselves in certain fashions and stuff to, appear older and appear, like, more attractive. And I'm not trying to say, like, oh, they're doing it for, like, the attention of men, because, people can wear whatever the fuck they want. People can dress and do their makeup however they want.
Right.
But it's just, like, you're 14 to 17, Like, you shouldn't be worrying about like presenting yourself to be older. You should be you should be enjoying your youth.
Cuties was bad.
Cuties was not. Cuties is the Turkey one, right?
Yeah.
Cuties is not inherently bad, I think. I think
Someone
American
watched
Netflix.
it.
Oh, was it actually bad?
It was bad.
Oh. Yikes.
Well, because at first it hadn't come out and people were like, people are like shitting on this director, when it was presented in a way for American Netflix or US, UK Netflix that was in, kind of through a pedophilic lens. But then someone watched it and I was like, holy shit.
Is it like
awful.
really bad?
It was so bad. I can show you the video if you want. It's just a guy's reaction video and he's like, guys, this is a major content warning, but it was really bad. Yeah. Very, very bad. Unfortunately, the way US UK presented it was
is how it was.
Spot on.
Oh no.
Which is why people were like, we're gonna rescind our past comments.
Our defense.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm kind of tempted to watch it because I like to watch.
I think they took it off.
Oh, they did.
I think they did. Yeah. Like it's the videos on there and it's not great.
All right, we'll watch the video then.
Oh yeah. But anywho,
yeah.
Same idea. Where they were kind of presenting themselves as older.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like cuties. I think were all way younger, right?
Like 11, I think.
Yeah.
And 10.
And it's like. Okay, so now we're gonna get to calling it fucking pedophilia because that's
it took 2 minutes.
I know, but it's because how else do you describe that? How else do you describe this this push from a patriarchal led society into making younger women who shouldn't even be like worrying about these things
right
presenting themselves as being like older, as being like as being somebody that people are allowed to be attracted to, quote unquote.
I guess so. Yeah.
But it's like oh no.
I think that's the video.
Oh,
Yeah, it's one of them. It's one of them, but awful. But also
Josh, I'll
building-
watch that later. I'm scared to watch it now.
But building off that too, I was telling Jeremy how when I look at pictures of me in middle school, how I definitely look like, 12, 13-year-old, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, if you were to compare me to someone that was that same age now, you'd see such a vast difference, I think, from 13, 14. And it's such a short amount of time, and I really think it has to do with the really the pervasiveness of social media and the fact that it's so much more widely available. And I know we're like, heard Thomas Edison was bad, he was a witch, lightning or electricity is scary. But there is, I think, a very thin line that has been crossed repeatedly in the sense that social media is, much more accessible by younger girls, younger people in general. So it's easier to press these beauty standards on and make, really pressure, younger generations to feel like, oh, this is the standard of beauty. This is definition of beauty. And if you don't look like that, if you're not attractive or appealing 24/7, then I don't know, guess you're ugly. Yeah. And so I really think social media has had a really huge part in that.
Yeah.
But I did see the tampon Twitter guy.
I also saw that tampon Twitter guy.
I couldn't tell if he was serious though.
I think he was.
Yikes.
Wasn't he like a politician or something?
Oh, I have no idea. I thought it was just some random guy.
No, I think he was like dead as verified and shit. I think it was like a UK something.
Yikes.
But yeah, I mean, like social media, I think is I think. Let's see. Okay, so I think it started with like this weird little like patriarchy thing where it like pushes out the like this idea of like, oh, like women have to present themselves as attractive, and then that kind of got fed into like children and stuff, and then those children got social media with that mentality, so they painted themselves up and they put the pictures out online on social media, and then like that became like the norm, and that became like what's popular because people like to look at pretty people.
Right.
And then because of that, then you get the younger people joining those platforms, and they see other people that share like their identities,
Right.
and then they're like, oh, that must be what it takes to be like, popular, or that's what it takes to fit in on this platform. And then I think that's where they get theirs. So it started as like a patriarchy thing, and then just kind of bled down.
Oh yeah.
Just like how white people want to trickle down economics to work.
Yeah.
Let's
It's
see.
really. Yeah.
Way less anonymous. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. I think when we were 11, 12, 13, we, I used the internet for Neopets. Really.
I never played Neopets.
It was really good. You should get. Wait, did they shut it down?
No, it's
You
just run by
should play.
Scientologists now.
Oh, that's unfortunate. But anywho, yeah, we were definitely, and social media wasn't even a thing, I think, back then. I think Facebook was barely, MySpace
When?
was, I think when we were 11, 12? MySpace
11 or
was a thing,
12.
but I don't think we were on, I wasn't on MySpace.
I was not on MySpace. The first.
I feel like older people were at that, when we were that age.
Yeah. People.
Like 16, 15.
Yeah, like people our age. Hang on, let me. People.
We
like,
don't have time to unpack all that.
Yeah, people our age now, back then, were on MySpace. But then when we reached their age, back then, now,
I think
is
Twitter,
like we hit like
Tumblr,
Facebook, but Facebook kind of like faded out pretty quickly too.
I think
feel
so.
like.
Yeah, I think maybe when we were 14, 15, maybe, I feel like more people were of our age were on Facebook at that point. But then it quickly kind of phased out. I'm gonna like 3-5 years, I want to say, more or less. And then people kind of started migrating to Instagram, Twitter.
Yeah. I think. Okay, so let's see. Hold on. A lot to read through here. First of all, Xana, yes, Neopets is I think owned by Scientologists now. They like bought the license or something.
Unfortunate.
The tampon guy definitely called he called the string provocative because it was quote unquote curvaceous and it made him horny. I don't know. He just
It's like
needs
the
to
guy
get laid.
from Hunchback of Notre Dame, except with strings.
I
The
didn't
guy-
watch,
the-
I didn't
the
watch
old-
that either.
Because you know, Esmeralda, the
The MILF.
she didn't have kids, so I don't know if she's a MILF, but
She's a MILF to me.
we're gonna have time to unpack all that. But, yeah, he was like, he wanted to like fuck her so bad it made him look stupid. So it's kind of like the same thing with the string.
Yeah.
But arguably a lot worse with the
Yes.
string. I don't think she was a MILF, but she was definitely very attractive.
Quote unquote, yeah.
Yeah.
Just, conventionally sexy.
Yeah. Which, that in and of itself, early women of color representation was not great. At least the way I saw it as a kid.
It was
But
a
that's another
sexualization, I think.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of characters. Sorry to go on a tangent, but a lot of characters, were always portrayed to be kind of exotic. And the three big ones I think of is Esmeralda, Kita from Atlantis, who's a fantastic character, but she definitely was also sexualized to an extent. And then Shell from El Dorado was really sexualized.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, that's all I had growing up, and it kind of sucked. But anywho.
Yeah. It's a representation, but like
It's
the
very-
bad side of it.
Yeah, it's very much like, oh, these women can exist in these forms of media, but they have to be presented as exotic for our male heroes. Yeah, and I was like, fucked up if true, and it was true. So, but anywho, yeah, what Xana said too is also on the flip side of that. When we take underage, specifically underage girls and age them up, we also have adult actors playing high schoolers and minors, and I'm like, well, no wonder it's so perpetuated in TV and movies, not just social media, because when a girl, like 11, 12-year-old girl sees I don't know, like a movie, for example, with teenagers, I guess like Mean Girls, but all the entire Twilight, where everyone was like, I think Rachel McAdams was 24 playing a 17-year-old or a 16-year-old, and I was like, yikes, when I learned that. But that goes to show you, like, wow, this is not how teenagers actually look like in real life.
Like the most dramatic satirical example is that Steve Buscemi meme where he's like, "How you doing, fellow kids?"
Yeah.
And it's like, obviously that's not what like what is that, like high schooler, middle schooler? I don't know.
Yeah.
That's not what a child looks like. But like that's like the funny ha like meme of it. But it's like a very common thing, like
it's so normalized too. It's weird if you think about it.
Cast fucking children. It's not that hard.
Yeah. And I guess the reason why they don't do that is because they can put
that's a very good point, actually. I never even thought about that.
That's true. Yeah, and I was gonna say there are movies where they're like, oh, we have to use adults because we have sexual themes or themes that are darker, where it's like, okay, we can't have 14, 15-year-olds pretending to have sex on screen.
Yeah,
but
then
that
it's
brings
like,
up the question.
yeah, don't have them have sex at all. What are you doing?
Right. And then I'm like, then don't put them in sexual situations.
It's that easy.
Whether or not, that's, that's always, I don't know how to describe it because I don't want to say this out loud. I don't want to expose myself. But, obviously when you're at that age, you might be exploring different things, might be exploring stuff like that. But I feel like that shouldn't be the business of adults, Yeah. It should be their parents' business, and that's it. Because, again, they're minors, but...
So literally why, like, parental controls exist, I feel like.
Right. So I feel like the excuse for that would be like, oh, yeah, but, like, 17-year-olds or high schoolers are hooking up with each other all the time. It's like, but that shouldn't be our business. We shouldn't be perpetuating that and normalizing that, that it's okay for high schoolers to be hooking up with each other, because whether or not they're exploring, whether they are, that's a normal part, I think, of growing up. But at the same time, we shouldn't be pressuring high schoolers to be like, oh, I have to have like this much experience by this time.
this like the whole stigma behind like body count and stuff, where it's like, oh, like, and that in itself is also a double standard because men have like high body counts and it's like, whoa, this dude fucks, oh my god. And then girls are like, oh yeah, like I have a body count of like 2, and everyone's like, whore, and it's like, it would this even if they're 18, like even if they're like 18, like registered adults or whatever, like it doesn't
make it okay.
Yeah, and it's like that shouldn't be something, one, that other people care about. 2, it shouldn't be something that adults are caring about either, because it's like I feel like not necessarily a common one, but one that's like notable, common enough to be notable, is that like people find out that people have like high body counts, and then they tell their parents, and it's like,
that's what my mom knows.
If someone came up to me and was like, I heard that your kid has a body count of 4. He's 17. I would be like, I literally do not care. If you try to dig into my child's sex life one more fucking time, it's on site. I swear to God.
I mean, at that point, I definitely would hope my child comes to me, with questions like, how do I do this safely? How do I navigate? And I'll be like, okay, I'm, like, it's okay to, want these things. It's okay to want to.
It's okay to
really,
fuck, my guy.
Yeah, but do it safely. Don't try
don't
to
get pregnant.
Yeah, and also don't get STDs or spread STDs, and
pregnancy is an STD.
Try not to like hurt people, because I feel like especially at that age, psychologically speaking, when we are physically intimate with people, that leaves kind of an imprint on our minds, and I feel like when you're exploring at that age, when you're thinking of so many things and you're still in such an early stage of development, that it's really easy to get hurt. It's really easy to hurt someone else too, unintentionally. So that's like the big thing too, that I feel like a lot of kids go into it without thinking. But yeah, as long as it's safe, it's consensual, not hurting, not going out and doing it for the sake of hurting people or getting hurt, then yeah, but at that point, it's also only their parents' business. It shouldn't be anybody else's.
It's also like, I feel like that is also like a media thing, like movies and TV, where they teach you like, oh,
there's a hole in my entire.
What?
There's a hole. There's just holes in my cheek.
You've glowed up. You're glowing.
I'm no, what is it? I was gonna say, God's light is burning a hole in my face, unfortunately. I can't be up on the surface very long. Oh, it's okay.
Turn this down. I almost fell off my fucking chair.
It's okay.
It didn't do anything. I think it's
yeah, don't worry. It's all good.
But yeah, I mean, there's.
I hope I am wholesome.
You are wholesome. But yeah, there's the movies and TV are like, oh, like you're gonna find like your significant other, and then it's gonna be like great, even if it didn't work out the first time, maybe it was just like the right person at the wrong time or whatever, and it's like, oh, you're gonna find the right person, and it's like, no, shut the fuck up. Like this takes time and like experience and stuff, and like you mentioned, the psychological imprints and stuff. It's like you use those to kind of shape what you're looking for in like what kind of person. Right. So it's like it's not gonna just. I feel like a lot of people have this idea when they're like young and stuff because of like rom-coms and whatever, where it's just like, oh, your significant other is at the coffee shop that you always go to, and it's gonna work out immediately always, and it's like,
yeah,
since fucking when?
Yeah, and I guess like on the other side of like, yeah, I do remember the guilt tripping stuff. Remember that. I don't know if it was more specific to girls, feminine coded people in high school, just because the whole idea of guilting into not giving it away until you're
like
ready,
your virginity.
Or, like saving it for, I don't know, someone special, or just really saying that you're worth waiting for. And I get that sentiment, and I get that it's better than saying like well, I guess I don't know, I guess it's about the same as abstinence, huh? Preaching abstinence. But yeah, it's the idea that, you know, that if you give it away before it's time, then that's on you, or the fault is kind of on you. But it's weird because I don't know if it's because I grew up also, not grew up, but at that point, you know, 16, 17, I was on social media. And I think in this weird convoluted way that I think affects a lot of other women and girls, that I thought I was reclaiming bodily autonomy or reclaiming my sexuality by, you know, just hooking up with a lot of people. I'm sorry if that's TMI, but I was very open about just hooking up like crazy. And I was like, yeah, I sleep with whoever, you know, and I don't give a shit, you know, whatever, you know? And I felt like I was really hypersexualizing myself. And it was like some twisted way of like saying like, yeah, but it's okay because like I'm being safe. And also, you know, people say like girls shouldn't hook up with like all these different people, but I was doing it so as an act of rebellion. And I feel like a lot of other women do that too, because, you know, it's kind of like this.
It's almost like the opposite end of the spectrum.
Right, exactly. It's like one extreme. Yeah, so I feel like I really had to learn that. That was also a vicious cycle. I think that played a role into my coming of age arc, I guess, my cringe arc. Yeah, just unlearning that, like, oh, wait, that wasn't really an act of rebellion. That was just me being kind of dumb and thinking that, oh, if I do this, you know, if I do all this crazy stuff, or if I do what these guys want me to do, then I'm cool and hip and sexy and fun and great, and everyone will find me attractive and appealing at all times. But yeah, no, and it felt like it really just it took a lot of unlearning, but also really taking off that pressure of like, wait, I don't need to be desirable 24/7 actually.
Especially at like what?
I was like 18, 19.
Yeah, especially at like little young baby ages when you're like a fresh adult and everything. Mm-hmm. It's just like there's so like much pressure.
Yeah, I feel like that's the same idea of why, you know, minors will put I'm a top or I'm a bottom in their bio.
Fucking god!
Yeah, like, oh, I'm such a top, or like, whoa, I'm a huge bottom, or whatever.
You only think
and I'm like, don't do that. Don't put that in your bio.
Yeah, it's like this weird idea of like
hypersexualized.
Yeah, it's just like hypersexualization, because it's like, oh, like I feel like you'll see that more often in like 16, 17, because they're like, oh, I'm already so close to 18. I'm basically an adult. And it's like, no, you shut the fuck up.
And you want like, you know, you want to be desirable. You want to be, which I get that want, you know, obviously I was there. But yeah, it's like, oh, I don't want to be like a crotchety old grandma, but I'm not going to tell like kids to stay off the internet, but, you know, definitely observe your behavior. Be fucking careful. And be careful. And if someone's grooming you to think that that's okay, to be like, yeah, like I'm only like 17, 18, but like I've already done like, all these things and I'm so kinky, and
this,
you know?
21-year-old is like into me, which means I'm mature.
Yeah,
no, it means you're groomed. You should kill them.
It's like when I told Jeremy this when I was at the 626 night market in LA. Very cool experience. I hope it comes back this year. That I'm like, obviously I can't know just from looking, but they really look like minors. Where I saw it's one of the kids leading the other with a leash and collar around the night market. And I was like, you guys look like you're 15, 14. That's not cool to be leading your partner or whatever, your friend, in a fucking leash and collar. That's really not okay. Yeah. And me and Maya kind of looked at each other and we were like, that's
fucked up.
A, they're minors, and B, it's a public space. And I know there's like a whole argument like saying like, oh, are people who are kinky allowed to do stuff like this? Because there's like adults who will straight up do that.
Yeah, and it's like,
but like, yeah, you may have consented together, but no one else consented to see that. Yeah.
And it's like, it's especially in like places like that where it's like, okay, so
bizarre.
Obviously,
like, who made it? You think it was okay? I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
But like, who made him think that it was okay to engage in that? Like, where are their parents? Where's the adults here?
That's like, you know, there's this weird little spectrum that doesn't have two ends. Right. It's got like a bunch of like different like points where it ends at, where it's just like at one point it's like, it's like, you know, not doing anything at all.
Mhm.
The other side is hypersexualization, where you're doing like everything at all times. And then there's
Right.
like the other points like in the middle where it's just like, you know, like you do things solely between yourselves, which is like fine. But you're doing it in spaces where other people can observe you, which is significantly less fine.
Right.
But it's like if you like walk into a like, I don't know, a fucking the sex club, you know,
Right.
and then there's people like leading each other around on like collars and stuff, or like, you know, doing weird kink bondage shit like that, then it's like, okay, whatever. Like, this is a sex club, and this is like a quote unquote acceptable behavior in
The open
this
space. Yeah.
like area.
Mm-hmm.
But like as soon as like let's say person A has person B on a collar, and you're in a sex club,
Yeah.
and then you like all is well and good, you guys are being horny, and then you lead them like if person A leads person B outside of that establishment, immediately not okay.
Right.
Because then it's like, I'm walking down the street, I do not want to see
that.
this. And then like
Right.
the doing that at like the 626 night market is even worse, because that's not like an age limited thing. You don't have to
Yeah.
be a certain age to like enter or
Exactly.
just be there. So it's just like
Mhm.
they're doing that already, which is like weird. But the fact that there's like children and like, you know, other minors around and stuff seeing that, it's like you're putting this weird little like instance into their minds, and they're just gonna keep thinking about it. And then like some people are gonna be like, well, if it's weird, but then other people are gonna be like, oh, if they're doing it, maybe that's an okay thing, because nobody's actively stopping them.
Right. And the whole point, you know, of the sex club is you have to be of age to participate.
Exactly.
So, and I didn't know if they really look like kids. I don't think they were of age, but obviously I wasn't gonna walk up and be like, hey, are you 18?
How old are you? How old are you both?
You. Yeah, and it's just the idea that, you know, it's a family event. You know,
Yeah.
people were there with their kids, their babies in strollers, and I think subjecting them to seeing something that is inherently kinky, I think, because I don't know if people would argue saying like, oh, they were just leading them each other in a collar. That's like, whatever. I mean, that's not kinky. It's just,
There's a
but
very
I'm pretty sure.
clear thing there.
Right, I'm pretty sure that's a kink, to put
Yeah.
it mildly, and you should not be engaging in your kink in public.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even if it's like not a kink, it's still a very like loaded thing
yeah.
to do.
Very abnormal and
Yeah.
very not to be explored in spaces where there are other minors or
Yes.
other.
It's like that.
family
It's like that
members.
picture of like of the couple in a mall.
Mhm.
Where like
Yeah, I think I saw that.
where it's also the same thing, like on a leash, but like the girl who has the leash on
Mhm.
is literally just like on all fours in the fucking mall, on the floor of the mall, and there's like a mall cop talking to him, and like very clearly telling them, "Hey,
Cut that shit out."
yeah,
Yeah.
get the fuck out of here." What?
Right. Yeah.
But yeah,
it's
exactly.
just-
It's like the most important thing about sexual activity always, no matter where you are, I think, is consent. Consent and safety.
Yeah.
And like sex clubs, when you enter that establishment, you are inherently consenting to see sexual activities and
Right,
sexual implications.
Mhm.
But not at the 626 night market.
Not at the
The only thing I'm
626
consenting
night
to is
market.
shoving fucking corn in my mouth. What?
Only thing I'm consenting to is shrimp daddy.
Shrimp daddy.
Yeah. Yeah. So, very awful. Well, you know, not awful, but not a great experience because, you know, I don't know. It's just not what I wanted to see that night
It's what
on that
nobody
warm
wanted to see.
August night. Yeah. Oh, wherever they are, I hope. But I feel like, you know, with people their age, you know, that are, you know, presumably minors, really think that that's okay, you know, because they don't know any better. You know, there's not, you know, if they are interacting with adults, then they're adults that are grooming them to think that that's okay behavior.
Yeah.
And that's like my biggest thing, you know, with minors on the internet. I always say this like on Tumblr. I'm like, yeah, it's okay to be in these spaces on social media, you know, but definitely be wary, you know, be
Yeah.
careful. Don't, you know, I know the whole thing like don't talk to strangers and whatnot. I feel like that's still, you know, for the most part, I feel like still holds true. Definitely be careful. Don't give away all your information. You know, interact mindfully. And yeah, just don't show pictures of yourself or share your age or, you know,
Yeah.
if you're a minor, because people, you know, really awful people will definitely seek you out if they know that information.
Yeah, I feel like
and take advantage of you. And I don't want to victim blame either, but
it's definitely like there's a very clear like curve of the younger you are in these like popular online forums and stuff, and like social media in general, I feel like, or like even Josh mentioned this earlier, where it's not even social media, but it's also like even things like TV shows and even so far as like anime and stuff, where it's just like the younger you are, the more careful that you have to be about like consuming things, because it's like if you, let's say you're on like Tumblr or whatever, you know, let's say you're like 11 years old, you're gonna see a lot of weird shit because that's just how Tumblr is. There's no like real like
well, not anymore after the port.
We'll forget about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you, Cocaine Don, for the follow. Welcome to the stream. I hope
Very
you're
loaded
enjoying
stream,
it. Yeah, I hope you're enjoying our banter. But yeah, it's like, you know, you go on Tumblr and like there's just gonna be a lot of stuff. Like you see like you'll see people discussing all kinds of like gender identities and stuff. Like you'll see people discussing and even just like, or, you know, reblogging like explicitly like just explicit things, not even explicitly anything, explicitly explicit
stuff.
Yeah, and so it's just like you have to be super careful when you're young and there, because you don't want this to be like your immediate impression of what is okay online.
Right.
And that's it. I lost it.
That's my whole speech.
That's my whole spiel.
I think as Tumblr especially, it's definitely tread more carefully for a lot of minors because it's a much more anonymous platform compared to, say, Twitter and well, I guess mostly Instagram, because I feel like that's, you know, definitely a very like visual platform, so it's kind of you know, definitely I feel like it's a lot harder maybe. Well, I guess there's catfishes and things like that everywhere you go, but I think Tumblr especially, because that's not really a space where you share personal information anyways, so if you're a minor you shouldn't really be inclined to do so either way. But yeah, I feel like if you really do share that information, then you really kind of, you know, just definitely, you know who to trust, and definitely be careful, because if you do share it, then you run the risk of an adult being like, oh, this is someone like that's readily available for me to, you know, basically predate on. Basically, and groom. But yeah.
Zana said, it's also unfortunate because adults don't take responsibility for their actions online, and a lot of people seem to be attacking minors for being on the internet. And that, I think, is very interesting, because I feel the idea there is very much like, ooh, I'm an adult, so whatever I do on the internet is correct. And the minors, the minors that are being affected by my actions are not like, it's not my fault. You know, it's like it's their fault for being here in the first place. If like they should have known better than to like be here, but it's like they're fucking children. What do you expect them to do? Like they don't already know these things. They don't already know like what is where. So they're obviously exploring, and they're gonna find things that is not okay. And so it's like on one hand, it's like children should be careful. On the other hand, adults should also very much be aware of when there are minors present, or when there could potentially be minors present, and then act accordingly. Like, if I'm not gonna go in fucking Neopets and make my name like Big Dick 37.
It's actually such a power move, but yeah, don't do that.
Yeah, no, not a power move.
to me, because I was on Neopets, and I'm an adult. That's why I'm saying it.
Yeah.
But I can recognize not a power move when there are adult or minors there. But me and Mari, this is when you were still living with Alyssa. Sorry. There's an asterisk there, like, what is it? Redacted. You were living with Redacted. Sorry, it took me a while. Yeah, we had a discussion, me and Mari, about this. Like, how can we kind of, as adults, accept the responsibility of really controlling, or at least making sure that explicit content that we share and post is not, being immediately being exposed by minors and whatnot. And I remember Mario saying like, yeah, it's really hard because obviously you can't control what it, unless you like live with incredibly strict parents, most kids are not going to have that regulated for them, in person. You're not going to have adults saying like, okay, you can't look at this, or like you shouldn't be looking at this for whatever reason. And I was like, yeah, it's really true. But I feel like, especially a lot of, it came up because we were talking about the Steven Universe crew, and how a lot of them were very open about, drawing porn and sharing porn of the characters on Steven Universe. And I forget whose Twitter it was. I think it was Ian Jones' Twitter. He kind of shares that openly. And I was like, I get that Steven Universe has a really wide audience, and I feel like a good chunk, if not a majority, are people who are 18 plus, are people who are adults. But you really should remember that this is an all ages kinds of things, and you will inevitably be exposing minors.
Yeah, and I feel like Steven Universe is like already a very like dangerous place to be doing that, because that's directly marketed as a children's show.
Right. On Cartoon Network, no matter how many adults are into it, it's on Cartoon Network. It is, it's not even like during audience.
Adult hours.
Yeah,
it's like straight up just like a cartoon. It's like a kids show, and that's something that they're very much aware of. Like, this was not, they did not like create Steven Universe with the intent for it to be like an adult cartoon.
Right, exactly. So I felt like, yeah, well, it's fine. The creators, obviously, yeah, if they want to make porn of it, they're adults. I'm not going to stop them. But I feel like they should be really careful about posting that and sharing that in a platform where fans can interact with them and fans can be exposed to that. Yeah, like they shouldn't be as open about it, if that makes sense. I feel like I sound like a stick in the mud, but
No,
but
it's completely valid though.
If kids are watching your show, then don't tell them you're drawing all this porn, or don't share porn on a platform where they may follow you. Pick something else, or maybe create a private Twitter for that. Where adults can follow, where you can screen that. But yeah, I was like, it just doesn't sit right with me that so many of those, so many creators for shows who are popular with adults, but specifically marketed for an underage, audience, mostly comprised of children or underage people. Then you shouldn't be like open or proud of that, like, wow, I have so much porn in this one character that I designed for this show I created. I'm like, okay, cool. Don't share that here, or don't be open about that here.
It like, the interesting thing about that specifically, because it's Steven Universe, is like, I hate remembering this. The self-insert guy.
Yeah.
And it's like, obviously, like, first of all, I think the biggest issue with that was that, very similar to the whole Mr. Boop thing, where it's just not his, like, his content that he is, like, drawing and stuff. It's not public domain. But I think the thing is also, it's like, you can't tell somebody to not draw explicit things of your characters, and then also publicly like share your own. It's like, if the reason was solely like, we're not okay with this because like it's not public domain, and we would rather you have like some kind of marketable license before you like engage in this kind of like production, then it'd be like, okay, like whatever, because you can't argue against like a license or whatever. But when it's that, and also like, we don't want you drawing porn of our children's cartoon characters, then it becomes hypocritical, because like, you're making porn of your children's cartoon characters.
You lips the mask.
Yeah. Yeah, Scooby-Doo. It's just Ian Jones
Old Man Jink. Oh, yeah. So, I don't know. I feel like you definitely have to include a lot of disclaimers if you're going to be engaging with your audience like that. You have to be like,
and the disclaimer should just be a private Twitter.
But, and hopefully they're not characters that are minors. It's a whole other thing. With Steven Universe, I feel like there's leeway with that, because these are not, hopefully, I didn't see any kind of pornographic imagery involving the minor characters. It was all usually,
I can
Don't look at me like that.
guarantee you it exists.
I'm sure there is, unfortunately. But, yeah, definitely include some disclaimers. Like, hey, I create this, but I create it, screening and making sure minors aren't exposed to it, as best as I can. Obviously, I can't control them, obviously I can't control every aspect of what they're looking at on the internet. I'm not their parent. But I do the best that I can. And that's why when I feel so bad talking about my horny Tumblr, but that's why when I made my horny Tumblr, I made it separate and protected because I didn't want my minor followers hearing about that. So, yeah. And same with my side Twitter. I'm like, I really only want this to be a space to interact with adults, and because I'm an adult. So.
And I feel like that, a lot of people will make like their, adult Twitters and stuff, their 18 plus Twitters, and then in their like bios and stuff, they'll say like, they'll put that disclaimer there where it's just like, if you're not 18, do not follow me because I'm gonna be posting explicit things. But obviously, like, there's still minors that come through and still follow, and it's just like, fuck off, But exactly. Minors can lie, and minors can also just like follow them and not say anything. And the most like proactive like take on that I've seen is like every time like this person got a new follower, they would like go through and just see like age, and then if there was a minor, they'd block them.
Yeah,
and like
that's what I did.
I think they were able to do that because like they were, I think, like privated at some point, and so it was just kind of like they could kind of sort through it in their like follower requests as opposed to like their notifications. So it kind of like curated that list of like people who wanted to follow you, and then you could see their ages, and if they didn't have ages, then it was like, whoa. But
blocked.
Yeah, just block them anyway.
Blocked. None of you are free from sin. What's that meme with Jesus where he's like, blocked. None of you are free from sin.
They hated Jesus because he told the truth.
I think that was it. Yeah.
But that's why it's a responsibility with adults and minors on the internet. Exactly.
Yeah. That really falls on the adult, and I think it should always fall on the adult to be responsible. And I feel like a lot of people don't spread that idea or like say like, oh, what are you gonna do? Yeah.
And I feel like it's definitely like, do
your best.
I feel like it's like 80% on the adults or the content creators or whatever, because like very clearly it's like you're the one that's aware that there can be minors like seeing your stuff, so it's like try to be careful about that. But then also like some kids have gone through experiences and stuff where it kind of has already forced them into knowing about these things. And so because of like that idea, then it's like they're obviously going to pursue information about that stuff or pursue things related to like stuff that's not in their immediate age range. Like they might pursue people say trauma matures you. That was the unfortunate thing that I was trying to like not say, but I feel like I wasn't making my point, so I had to say it. But yeah, it's like some people go through certain like traumatic experiences, and then it pushes them into this realm of like potential hypersexuality or just like finding these things and being in older circles, which is unfortunate, but that is like how it is. So it's like
it happens.
Yeah, and it's like they're just going at it right now. It's like, but yeah, Xana's right. You can't vet every person to see like what age they are or whatever. Like if someone follows you and on like an 18 plus account and like they don't have an age in their bio, what are you gonna do? Fucking DM them?
Block.
How old are you? And it's like no, it's like that's hard. And obviously everybody also like wants followers to market their like I'm assuming that like the 18 plus accounts are for like brands or whatever, just like famous people or like art or whatever. But it's like if you have that kind of account, obviously you want more followers, so it's like to promote yourself and to be more popular. So it's hard because you can't vet every person, and then if someone doesn't have an age, then it falls into the question of, should I let this person follow me because I want more followers and I don't know if they're a minor or not, or do I just block them straight up and lose out on that because not everybody has their age. just like not everybody has like, you know, pronouns or whatever. So it's like, it's just, it's a shitty little aspect of social media.
Yeah. I guess my concern is really trying to filter out the really like bad stuff, I think. Because I think for me, I think what I was exposed to that was, I shouldn't have been exposed to was, you know, explicit content that was of dubious consent or non-consensual. Or content or pornography that really put the, you know, man in power and, you know, woman, you know, in kind of a very submissive. Because it really fucked with my idea of like what, you know, what I expected to happen, I guess, in a bedroom setting. And I felt like you know, when I went through that like phase, I guess, you know, hypersexual phase, you know, I did a lot of things that I wasn't really ready to do or that I wasn't really comfortable doing, but I felt like I had to. So that's, I feel like, my biggest concern with content like that. Because, of course, you're not going to ever be able to stop people from making it. But if you can prevent a minor from seeing it, I feel like that could really has the potential to drastically change how they view those relationships and what they come to expect out of those relationships.
And it's like, the thought that I had just now was like, you know, you'll see a lot of that stuff on, you know, just in pornography.
Yeah.
And
it's
so
very, unfortunately, very popular.
Yeah. And so like, you know, there's like free pornography streaming sites like, you know, Pornhub or fucking, what is the other one? RedTube or something.
I think so.
Yeah. So it's just like, obviously somehow like minors are gonna find their way to those websites and see these kinds of things, and then it's like, okay, clearly the option here is to just put this stuff behind like a paywall or some kind of like account wall so that like so minors can't like find their way in. But then again, minors can lie, and then the other thing too is that like at that point it's almost censorship, because then you're saying like you need to like hit these qualifications in order to like, you know, view this stuff. So it's like a very mild form of censorship. Obviously it's not directly saying this stuff can't be on the internet, but it's saying who can and can't see it. So it becomes like a very like dodgy issue of what is allowed on the internet.
Right. Well, I think it's just more filtering. Like, how do you filter it in a way that doesn't, you know, lead to censorship issues involving censorship?
Yeah, but then I think the problem is that you can't.
Yeah.
Because the internet
most
is
of the stuff that I saw was really on social media and Tumblr and things like that. So I think I'm talking mostly about that and keeping that kind of material out of those spaces or really filtering those materials. But yeah, you really can't. It'd be very hard to prevent a minor unless like the parent is involved. It's really, really hard to keep them off those websites.
Yeah.
But I have seen that though, where people are saying like vanilla is a bad thing.
Yeah.
I'm like,
personally, I think it's a pretty good flavor.
What's the gif of? Is it John Travolta where he walks and he's like,
oh yeah, from Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, that's me. That's me. Because it's like, it's very fucked up how we've really glorified, you know, BDSM and having a kink. And going back to, you know, the minors I saw at 626, or presumably minors I saw at 626, who thought that it was okay to be dragging each other on a leash, on a collar. That really sets like the precedent for sexual relationships and going in with these expectations like, oh, it has to be this, or I have to be, you know, in my case, I have to be very submissive in order to please my partner. It really just feeds into that narrative, and that it only can look one way versus, no, if you're not into that, don't force yourself to be into that. Yeah. You know?
But then I think that ties back into the whole, like, idea of seeing that and being like, oh, I have to do that to you know, fit in and to, like, be popular and stuff. Right. And it's like, you're 15, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, you're not a top, you're not a bottom, you don't even know who you are.
The only thing you should be worrying about is top of your class, and you're at the bottom.
The only thing you should be worrying about is what top is gonna go with that.
That was pretty good. That was pretty good.
That was awful.
No, that was actually pretty good. I think that was better than mine. It's a weird duality.
Also, I have to go pee. This tea went straight to my bladder, so I'll be right back.
See, it's a weird duality between trying to normalize things like BDSM because it is more common but tends to be vilified, and also being okay with not being into it. Yeah.
My cardigan here. I have to pee so bad. Okay. Why did I let it get this far?
Was it good?
The tea?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really good. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, it's like very much just like, let's see. Okay, so I don't think kinks specifically have to be normalized, because I think that, you know, kinks as a whole are just kind of like, individual kinks and stuff are not going to be a thing that everybody has, obviously, because that's why they're kinky. That's why they're, you know, the odd thing out. I think normalizing just the idea of people having kinks in general is a fine thing to do, and we should do that because we don't want people to, you know, vilify or bully other people because of like that, because they have different sexual tendencies than we do. But we should like also just be aware of that. Just like be aware that people are going. Okay, here's the thing. I think that if we normalize the idea of people having different kinks than ourselves, then it follows suit that we would like be okay with not being into it, because then it's just like, you know, oh, the person A is into BDSM, person B is into feet. I was gonna say pee, and then I was like, feet is like a little bit better. But I think that, like, you know, I'm not into either of those things. I'm also not into pee. It doesn't matter. But I accept and I understand that, you know, kinks are a thing. People have kinks, and it's plain and simple. That's all that it needs to be. Josh, I know that I'm not into it because I don't want to try it. It's plain and simple. How do you teach kids if the parents are always at work, and how do you regulate them? It's like parental controls exist, you know, and I think that it's like a good option, because if you set those parental controls, then you can control where your child goes. But then that falls into this like idea of being strict. And you're right, I am assuming that parents know about the controls, but like that is yeah, I mean, you're right. And when we grow up to be parents, obviously we're gonna know about these things. We're gonna know about parental controls and stuff. But like, you know, the parents of our generations don't know, or like didn't or don't know about that. So it makes it a little bit harder. But when we grow up, we're talking about what we can do going forward as us. You know, when we grow up and when we start having our own children, how can we make it so that they are, you know, okay, that they're not buying into these little stereotypes or like bad ideas that push them into negative territory? How can we protect them from oh yeah, the soap's like not doing great. But yeah, it's like how are we as parents gonna try and push this narrative of making sure that our children are safe and making sure that they are living as children, and like just letting them kind of do their own thing. Hi, Kay. But yeah, and what I was gonna say about parental controls even is that it like falls into this idea of being too strict, of constricting what our children can see, and obviously that does not work, because you have strict parents, you know, that keep their children at home, away from like any mention of like drugs, any mention of sex, any mention of things that are considered like adult or not okay. And then they go out into the real world, they go to like college or they move out or whatever, and immediately like all of that curiosity that was stifled in them as a child explodes out. And then you've got children going to like, you've got good Christian children that were so sheltered and good, they go to parties and immediately just, you know, like it's a dangerous game to play just overall. But the fact of the matter is, like, it's gonna be a long time coming. It's gonna take a very, very long time for behavior like that to be unlearned in generations. And I think that there might even be a chance that it will never be unlearned, because there's always going to be those people who are affected so deeply by the way that their parents parented them into parenting their children the same way. So there's always going to be that line of like people that are not people that are just not allowing their children to explore in a safer manner.
I was gonna. Sorry.
No, I think that's it.
Okay, I was gonna say that's the whole paradox in the South, where they only teach abstinence only, and those are some of the states with the highest rates of teen pregnancy. Because if you just teach kids, full stop, no sex,
they're gonna have.
Who's
sex.
that gonna really stop? Yeah. So it's like, I don't know. I could say what I said earlier. Paradox is like the best way to describe it.
Everybody
so
gets chastity belts.
I hope they look like the Mad Max ones. You have to really be. You have to definitely be educating these kids about, to an extent, because we want them to be able to make these choices for themselves at a certain point, and until they can do that, the parent is there to really facilitate what your child is exposed to, what they're learning about. In terms of sexual relationships and just sex in general. So there's a happy middle ground, I think, for sure, but for a long time it's always been at the extremes. Either your parents like don't give a shit what you're looking at what you're looking at on the internet, what you're being exposed to, or they're completely policing every single thing. I guess that's the best I can put it. You gotta find, as a parent, which I am not, I have a 3 beautiful parakeets and a crested gecko. You really have to just find that, what works for your kid and how you can teach them that in the best way possible that will allow them to become self-sustaining adults, and happy adults, basically. Yeah, I don't know. I was very lucky to have a mom who was very open about that stuff and readily answering my questions about sex, but at the same time I wasn't very regulated on what I was seeing on the internet, and I feel like that really also played a big role in what I expected in sexual relationships. And if I go back in time or talk to my younger self, I tell them, hey, you don't have to do that, and I'll be like, oh shit, huge is true, and I'll be like, it is true, and then I'll go back to the future.
Fades out of existence.
It fades out, and you're like, wow, shit, okay, yeah, cool.
It also, so definitely, like, adults especially are not comfortable talking about these things with their children, because they're like, oh, they're just children. Josh, who asked? I'm gonna be honest, who asked? Also,
I thought it was 25
me.
miles per hour, but anywho.
It's me.
Mm-hmm. Well, moving on. We don't have time to unpack all that.
But it's like, adults don't want to have that conversation because they feel like they're introducing their children to this world of like adult things. But it's like,
sooner or later.
Yeah, it ties back to what Andrea and I are always talking about in regards to like relationships and stuff, where it's all about communication. Like, you sit down with your kid and they're like, mommy, daddy, or like, my good parental figures, what the fuck is a penis? Like, I'm gonna tell you about it, but I'm also gonna tell you, like, be careful, like, here's, like, you're young, don't go, like, don't try to finagle your way into some puss. Just kick it, you're young. Take it easy.
Also, I read that as Jube. I don't know why.
Jube.
Sorry. But also, in regards to that, it's really important in the sense of keeping your kids safe, because I read a really sad case about a little girl who was being molested by an older male relative, and we don't tell our kids that are the proper names for our genitals. We kind of like cutesy-fy it, if that makes sense. My little no area. Yeah, right. Or not even that. They'll pick
my
something.
DiGiorno.
Stop. something really innocuous, right? Rather than saying what it is, you know, penis, vagina, what have you.
Yeah.
So as she was during this whole time she was being molested, she was saying like, oh, he's touching, you know, this area, I forget what it was called, what they called it, but something completely benign, and the teacher didn't understand. You know, she was like, oh, I don't know what she's talking about, but okay. I think it was like some kind of animal or something like that. Like, oh, he's petting your pet thing. Okay, whatever.
My
I don't
God.
stop. Yeah, or you know, adults didn't understand what this child was saying when she was asking for help, because she didn't know of the proper term, you know, for this area, this part of her body that was clearly being violated. And so it went on for months and months until they were like, oh shit, wait, this kid is straight up being molested and we didn't do anything about it.
Yeah.
And she was asking for help. So that's why I think, playing into that, yeah, we think we're exposing our kids to, you know, quote unquote inherently sexual things, but at the end of the day, that could very well, you know, be a means of protecting them. Like if she had learned the term for vagina and straight up said, hey, he's touching that, and I want to stop, I need help, then something could have been done way, way, way sooner.
Yeah.
So
and
that's why.
Like, there's just this weird stigma that's like all over everywhere, where it's just like talking about like anything sexual, talking about genitals, talking about like any
like
kind
taboo?
any kind of like natural reproductive organ. It's just like, oh, you can't talk about that, that's dirty. And it's like,
it's really not.
I have a penis, what do you want? Like, I'm gonna talk about it.
Yeah. I think part of it is part of
religion. It
religion.
absolutely is.
Yeah, for sure.
It's,
but
there, you know, separation of church and state, but there's nothing.
Yeah.
There's no separation. There's still very clear like effects that religion has had on the way that, like, I think pretty much everywhere is run, because I think that sex is kind of a taboo topic in a lot of places.
Right. And I think globally, you know, outside of the scope of religion, so many things that aren't inherently sexual just became so sexualized. And I'm not sure how. I don't know if it was
like boobs.
Yeah.
Big boobie.
Yeah. Things like that, you know, aren't inherently attached to something sexual became so, like the tampon, come full circle. But yeah, things like that are suddenly seen as dirty.
Yeah.
Because they're associated with, you know, genitalia or parts of our body that...
I feel like that especially it affects like feminine coded genitalia.
Yeah.
Because it's like, you know,
period.
Yeah.
You know?
And then you like watch a fucking like movie or whatever where they're like, oh, it's teens coming of age. And then they'll just like talk and they'll do the fucking condom banana thing. Or you've got Call Me By Your Name where he fucks a peach. Or you've got American Pie where he literally fucks a pie. And it's like, like, yeah, there was.
I never watched it.
I didn't watch it either, but I heard.
Oh,
about it.
I heard through the grapevine that an American Pie.
Yeah, he puts his penis in a pie.
So
but like,
gross.
it's just like there's so many instances of like, you know, men doing or like, you know, people with penises doing these things where it's just like, oh, haha, that's funny and quirky. But then as soon as it's like, oh, this girl put a cucumber in her vagina, then it's like, what the fuck, dude?
Yeah, or this person, you know, this person's on their period. She's on her period. You know, it's like,
yeah.
They're like, oh my god, don't say that. That's like none of my business. Or like, or when you know the horror stories of like girls asking their dads to buy them like tampons or pads. And
what
dad's
size
like,
pussy you wear?
Yeah, stop. Besides that.
But yeah, men suck straight up, like
It's
point blank period.
Very patriarchal.
Yeah.
I think. This whole view of like vaginas are dirty and periods are dirty.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like your breasts, don't show them up, you know, but show them.
Yeah, contrary, show them.
Right, but that's the thing. There's a whole flip. You
Yeah,
know? It's like, oh, don't
as soon
show
as
them
it
like
as
you're
soon
a
as it turns
whore.
horny, it's just like
they're like, but now they're for me.
Moves in my mouth.
Yeah,
moves in my
it's
mouth.
for my consumption and my consumption only because I'm a straight man. And
Yeah,
that's just how it works. Sorry, guys, I don't make the rules.
Yeah,
it's awful because it's like, do you want them or not, or you know?
Yeah, and it's like it's tied to this weird like, you know, quote unquote comedy, where it's like, you know, it's that middle school to high school, like, like area of jokes where it's just like, oh, like, women are dumb or whatever, and it's just like, you know, it basically demeans women and puts them down to a lower level than like men. And then you see like those shitty like Instagram comedians or whatever where they do the same thing, and it, like, they're appealing to that generation. That generation sees it as, excuse me, as like okay because it's like funny or whatever. And so they just keep doing that, and then like those kids grow up to still think that that's okay. But then as soon, like, they're still attracted to women, of course, because who the fuck isn't? And then like it reaches this point where it's just like you can't belittle women in your day-to-day. You can't belittle people in general in your day-to-day life, and then still expect them to have sex with you.
Right. And I think also, backtracking a little bit, it's like, yeah, these things, you know, these parts of a woman's body can exist, or even a penis. This can exist, but only in a sexual context. Yeah. I know there's leeway with a penis, as you said, like for comedic effect. But going back to like vaginas and breasts, you know, it's like, but it can exist in a sexual space because I can consume it. Yeah, and I'm like, actually.
I think an offshoot of that even is like the straight males fetishization of like women loving women.
Oh yeah,
stuff.
Yeah,
because then it's like, oh, one woman, boobies. Two women, two boobies. And so it's just like it really.
They only have one boob each.
Yeah, one boobie each. But it takes that idea of you know, like, feminine coded sexual organs, quote unquote, including breasts, can only exist in a sexual like manner. And so when like, you know, straight men or whatever fetishize lesbian porn, then it's like it's that maximized or like multiplied even.
Yeah, and you see it everywhere too. Like when you see woo relationship, you know, it's so like played down. You'll see like especially with Kristen Stewart's past relationships, like you'll see magazines and tabloids go like, wow, what good friends, holding hands, kissing. That's all
but
friendship.
They're fucking.
That's
they're
all
fucking.
friendship behavior. So it's like almost as if woo relationships can only exist in a sexual setting, which is incredibly fucked if you think about it. I think, but I feel like that's a whole other tangent, because I feel like homosexual relationships are always sexualized. Yeah. Like you get that with even gay men too, because if people will be like, oh, it's dirty, it's not for my Christian ears and eyes, because it's just about sex, you know. There's no love or romance in that relationship. It's purely sexual.
That's actually, but that's like, that's also a very common argument that people use against like homosexuality, where it's just like, homosexual relationships don't operate on love or romance. Like they only want sex. That's why they're gay. And it's like, what the fuck does that even mean?
Yeah, right.
What is that? Right. Like, what is there no love because they can't procreate? Is that the point that you're trying to make? Because it doesn't make sense. Shut up, die.
Yeah. If you look in a lot of, there was a really beautiful poem or piece of a novel where, or autobiography where someone was like, oh, as a, you know, who grew up to be, I don't remember their gender, or that doesn't really matter, but you know, they grew up to become homosexual or realize their homosexuality, and they were like, when I was a kid, I looked up what homosexual meant in the dictionary, and it was just purely sexual. It was like, oh, a sexual relationship between, you know, people of the same sex. Yeah. And they were like, and I thought that was so fucked up, because, you know, as a kid, especially at that age, you know, that was not something I thought about. I'd been purely attracted to, you know, same-sex kids of my age, because, you know, I was in love with them. It was love, and nowhere in the dictionary was homosexuality described.
Yeah, because I think
in a loving way.
The dictionary definition of it is going to be.
It might have been fun home. Yeah, it might have been.
Bechdel? Was it Bechdel test?
Yeah, I think so, actually. Ooh. Yeah. I've heard fun home come under really recent fire though for a lot of,
Well, I don't
or
know.
not recent fire, but
I don't
anywho, a lot of people were just, you know.
I don't know either of those things.
Yeah, I think it's a play. It was a novel turned play or play turned novel, something like that. Yeah.
But
Or memoir? Okay. I'm sorry, I don't know much about it except that people were shitting on it, but I was like, I don't think. Anywho, moving on. Yeah, I don't.
I forgot what I was gonna say.
Sorry, that was
No,
my
it's okay.
fault.
It's
I was
okay. It's okay.
talking.
It's okay. It's okay.
I was talking. I'm sorry.
Oh, I remember.
I see. Okay.
But yeah, I feel like a dictionary definition of things is always going to be skewed because a dictionary is purely logical. A dictionary
true.
does not change it. Like its sole purpose is to define a word as it was created, like via like its entomology or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So like homosexual means that like
Home of the sexual.
exactly,
Sorry,
exactly.
help it.
They are sexual at home. No.
Right.
But it's like, you know, if you break it down, homo means same, sexual means sexual. So it's like, it's gonna tell you that it's like a sexual relationship between two people of the same sex. But like the evolved like social meaning of it is just two people of the same sex that are in love with each other, that are in a relationship. But the dictionary is not going to tell you that because the breakdown of the word does not imply in any sense that kind of thing.
True. I was just trying to be artsy like Alison Bechdel. I know logically a dictionary wouldn't have that, but I think for the purposes of the story and how homosexuality in a lot of media and in a lot of spaces only exists sexually, the dictionary kind of was support of that, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
support the idea.
People definitely use the dictionary as like a support, but I would tell them exactly what I just said. You know,
right.
Like shut the fuck up. We are not purely logical beings. We're not robots. You know,
right.
Things evolve, definitions evolve. Poggers, you know, PogChamp used to mean like, whoa, cool thing, and now people are just using it like socially for whatever the fuck they want, you know,
support.
Like just had sex, poggers, just ate a fucking pie, poggers.
Kidding.
I'm gonna say poggers when we have sex.
Please don't.
I'm gonna do it.
Let's not.
I will.
I'm announcing my chastity, everyone. My abstinence.
Poggers about the chastities.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just like, you know, definitions change as people use them in real life, but the dictionary is not going to keep up with that.
Right. I just, sorry, babe. I didn't mean to, sorry, I don't think that scene was meant to be interpreted literally. I think that was just like that was their first, you know, they were summing up their interaction with society, constantly sexualizing the idea of they were distilling their experience with society that was constantly, you know, boiling down their attraction as purely sexual in that scene. I think was the point. I don't think it was. Sorry,
No.
But I think what you're saying makes sense. So I don't think it was meant to be like, wow, what the fuck? The dictionary didn't include this. That's fucked up.
But like I brought that point up because like that is an actual argument that people use.
Oh, okay.
People say gays are wrong because they only want sex. Look at what the dictionary says, and it's like, your face, fuck you, shut up.
Yeah, go suck a dick.
But yeah, it's like
I see what you mean now.
Yeah.
Sorry. I was like, I don't think it was meant to be literal.
I don't know shit about Fun Home or Alison Bechdel, so I will not speak on that.
It's very heavy, that's for sure. But anywho, yeah, I don't think it was meant to be like, oh, what did they expect? It's a dictionary. It was more like, oh shit, wait, that's kind of summing up that entire experience as, wow, it is just a dictionary definition, huh? At the end of the day is what everyone's been telling me. Mm-hmm. Whereas that's clearly not the case, at least in their experience. But yeah.
Dictionary definitions do not encompass everything that a word holds.
Yeah.
It gives you the meaning, but it doesn't tell you what it means.
Oh, all right, we're done. We're done. I'm kidding. Yeah.
But yeah, like, it just, I don't know. Fuck, man. Like, people who use dictionaries as like as a backup for their something phobic like arguments,
bigotry
don't
is
work.
just not gonna work.
Yeah, you cannot
They
use the
think it
dictionary to
will.
support anything.
But it doesn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't actually work.
Shit
Yeah.
don't fly. Not in my house. I'll fuck you up.
Yeah. But please don't say poggers when we have sex.
I'm gonna say poggers when we have sex.
Should I tell the audience?
What?
No, I'm kidding.
Tell them what?
Because earlier you were,
Oh.
yeah, you're like, I don't want to know, and I was like,
I just didn't want them to know that we.
okay. You're gonna say it, yeah.
It's fine. Don't worry about it. We're all adults here. There are no
We're all-
minors in
I
the
hope
chat.
not. I
There
hope
are none.
not,
There better
'cause-
not be. I've got 7 viewers. This is pretty good. I hope
Okay.
there's no minors.
Yeah, if there's minors here,
Leave. Just pretend you didn't hear that.
yeah, or I don't know. Definitely explore it safely.
Yeah, explore it
critically.
safely.
Yeah, because we're not gonna tell you. You can't be vanilla. Put top and bottom in your bio.
I will tell you,
Absolutely.
don't do that.
Definitely don't do that. Definitely, please do not. For the love of God, whatever you do, if you're gonna go on the internet, don't do that.
Yeah, like, don't.
But
Just-
we're gonna talk about sex safely and
Yeah.
non-judgmentally.
Yeah. I feel like it's a lot of don't invite.
Mm-hmm.
Don't invite the attention of a community that you cannot be a part of.
Or be responsible for
Yeah.
at the end of the day. Yeah, but we are adults here.
We are. We are very much adults. But
Actually, guys, I'm coming out. I'm only what is it? I'm 12 years old. I'm only 12.
I'm 13.
This is ridiculous. Yeah.
But yeah, it's like plain and simple. Just I think the biggest thing that I was gonna say the biggest thing that we can do is make sure that people are careful on the internet. But like, how do you enforce that even?
I think you just inform, really. Just make sure. I don't know. Just make people as aware as possible. Like how I mentioned earlier, setting the disclaimers, really, and just saying, "Hey, I am an adult. I am planning on only interacting with adults. But if you are a minor in this space, please tread carefully. Don't share your age. Don't share identity.
Yeah.
Don't share stuff like that.
Yeah.
Unless you can absolutely be sure who you're interacting with is someone your age, and you know that person maybe in real life, and they are indeed who they say they are. So yeah, just disclaimers, really.
Yeah.
At least that's what I did for my horny stuff.
Yeah. But like, let's say like we sire children.
Oh, sorry.
Let's say we breed.
Oh,
But
I don't like that.
I think
going to Olive Garden to get bread. What? Have you seen that?
I think I have.
Yeah.
It rings
They're like,
a bell.
You spelled bread at BRED.
I know what I
That
said.
means, and they were like, shut the fuck up. I know what I'm about.
I know what I said.
I know what I'm about.
OP, what Olive Garden? But yeah.
Which
Dennis.
Olive Garden?
But yeah, it's like, let's say that we have children, or like we as in like a generation, as opposed to like we specifically. But it's, I feel like the best step to take in that direction is to just make sure that you keep lines of communication open between you guys. Make sure that both you and your child know that there's no like, there's no judgment. There's no like, that they don't have to worry about, oh, I can't talk to my parents about this because it's like a weird little taboo topic. Like, just if they have questions, they should know that they can ask you, and you should also know that if you have questions about what's going on with them, like, that's something that you guys can talk about. Because if they're scared to ask you questions or stuff, they're gonna search for the answers online, and searching for the answers online is gonna bring them into like, circles that they may not be necessarily like welcome in terms of their age, or like just something that's far too advanced for them to be around while they're still impressionable.
Yeah, so it's just really I guess going back to parenting circle,
being dead
I feel like there's this whole really awful, not trope or habit kind of perpetuated in parenthood where they're like, where parents will, for whatever reason, not make their kid feel safe to like talk to them, and they're like, "Oh, why is my kid not talking?"
Oh yeah, yeah,
to
yeah,
me?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Is it because like I call them out on their insecurities, or I make fun of them, or any
Is
of
it
the
'cause I
other
bully the
100
shit out of my kid?
Yeah,
Couldn't be
yeah.
that.
Or I'll shame them for doing something, and make them feel like they're gonna get in trouble if they share these things with me. But why aren't they talking to me?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like that's such a huge common thing in parenting, even today, where kids just straight up don't feel safe to come to their parents with their problems for one or two or a whole bunch of reasons. And I think that really needs to not happen anymore. That really needs to stop. Yeah, and
Yeah,
really,
it's-
really, we have to normalize. I feel like it's already so normal for like, especially in media, they're like, oh, ha ha, like going through her teen years, she doesn't want to talk to her mom about it. She's just gonna lock herself in her room for
Because
days.
because that's like
Yeah.
normal, but it's like that, like the fact that is
actually-
the normal response is not
Mhm.
great. But
Yeah.
I mean, I think what should be normalized is not not that, but I think it's just like not punishing them or making them feel bad about having questions or like being open to learning. It's like I feel like the biggest problem is that parents have already gone through these experiences. Parents have already learned about these things, and so it's like when their child asks them about it, they project themselves on there, and they're just like, I already know this. Why don't you, fucking idiot? And it's like they're literally like, you were in their shoes once, and it's like, don't make them feel bad for having the same questions that you did. You found out in like different ways. You found out in ways that changed you fundamentally as a person.
Right.
So you can teach them in a safer environment than they would if they just went online and asked sexbot 427.2 on fucking Tumblr.
Yeah. It's just, I don't know. Parents like think it's so normal that their kids don't talk to them, and I'm like, that's fucked up.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't grow up like that. I was fortunate enough to grow up with a mom who didn't feel like she was judging me all the time. There are definitely times where I feel like, I wish she handled certain things a little bit better, but she's doing the best she can, and she's considering that she's an immigrant from a very, I would say conservative society. I feel like she's leagues ahead. I feel like it should be the new normal. Just, having your kids be able to come to you with literally anything. It could be something you think is so, trivial or dumb, but to them it means, it's their whole world, and you have to be ready to like step up, I think.
Yeah, it's like for me, I went through a lot. And it was just, if I did something wrong or if I did something like bad, then, I would get my stuff taken away. I would get my, my privileges revoked, which, like, quote unquote is fair, just because it's like, but it's also like, it's damaging. Like, even, the whole, like, parents, like, making fun of their kids and stuff, and, like, basically bullying them has affected me even now. Like, because I complain about it all the time, but it's like, I have not been happy with, like, the way that I look in, 23 years. And so it's just like, it's hearing all of that stuff coming from my parents about like, oh, you like eat too much or you don't eat enough or like whatever, all this stuff is like, it's like, it altered me like deeply to the point where like I can't like wrap my head around like, maybe I look good. And it's like, I look in the mirror and then I'm like, oh, I look okay. And then I look for like 2 more seconds and I'm like, never mind, I'm gonna throw up. And so it's just like, it's a lot of making sure that your children are comfortable and feel safe in their literal home. And I feel like that is like the big thing that like our generation's parents lack.
Right. Yeah. And yeah, no. Sorry, I'm trying to think of what I was going to add to that, but yeah, I think I guess I'm very lucky that I didn't deal with, my dad was kind of on the flip side of things, but, my mom always made me feel like, I was safe and protected and grounded, and also never really made me feel self-conscious. But yeah, I think, I don't know, just trying to think of like an instance where that could have been handled better, I guess, that I still think about.
I can think of a billion.
Oh yeah, this one's kind of embarrassing. But when I was 15, my dad caught me sexting someone my age, and I just cried and
Do you want to kiss behind the school?
Slut!
Do you want to hold my hand?
Yeah.
Whore!
Yeah. Kind of like that. I mean, you know, I wasn't sending pictures, but I was definitely saying like all this awful shit I was going to do to this kid that I definitely was not going to do because I was 15. But the way my dad blew up about it really, you know, really scared me. You know, I definitely was like, holy shit, like, what if he kicks me out? Like, I don't know. And, you know, for weeks after that, he was like, you know, what are your friends going to think about you? They're going to think you're like a slut or a whore. And you are because you're sending these things. And I was like, shit, okay. And I think that's why what really swung me in the hypersexuality kind of end of extremity, where I felt like being sexual, being, you know, sexual and seeing all these people and hooking up with all these different people was like my way of getting back at my dad. And it was just very fucked up. But yeah, he really made me feel like, you know, what an awful person I was for doing that, rather, you know, than handling it with at least like an ounce more grace, I think. And I think that that's what really pushed me to rebel.
I feel like that's like the big thing is that, you know, parents of our generation feel like the immediate response should be punishment, should be guilt, should be like just making us feel shitty about the thing that we did, when it's like, you could sit us down and have a normal conversation with us because we're also people, but whatever, dude. But I mean, it's well, first of all, you're my horse.
And you are the sexiest, most sensual man I've ever seen.
Anyway.
I'm gonna cry about it because I'm so horny every time I look at you.
You're gonna get me banned.
I'm sorry.
We're gonna fucking stream.
Oh, stop.
Tune in on Pornhub right now.
But you are very handsome. And you've been handsome to me since I met you in high school.
That's a lie.
No, it's true.
That's a lie.
But, you know, obviously I couldn't act on that attraction because I'm baby, but also you were in relationships, so. But yeah, there you go.
But yeah, so Xana says, I told my mom once that I didn't appreciate certain comments on all the adults around. I said we have the same consensus that parents are allowed to poke fun at their kids, and their kids need to learn to not take things so seriously. And I think that is very much like that whole, like, quote-unquote shitty little snowflake mentality. You know, where it's like, just like, oh, like, serious, if we did it, then, like, we never, like, it just fuck off about it, you know? Like,
it's not cool to pick on your kids' insecurities.
It's like, if I, like, let's say my parents made fun of me for, like, my weight or whatever. If I turn it around on them, they would blow the fuck up. And it's like, okay, then what the fuck? Like, if you're gonna take it seriously,
shit, get hit.
Exactly. Talk shit, get hit, but you obviously can't get hit because it makes you feel bad about it. So it's like, if we're gonna talk shit, then I'm gonna talk shit back, and you're gonna get hit, but then you're gonna get mad at me for doing it. So obviously you're taking it as seriously as I was. So why are you gonna do it to me in the first place?
Right. And it's like, I don't point out you're very clear insecure, even though I kind of do with my dad. I do bullying him that he's losing his hair, and he is, but
old.
He's old, and I always joke about his age, but yeah. I feel like the general consensus is that, you know, like, why is it okay for parents to do that, or even punishing behaviors that they want to see? I saw on Tumblr where someone was like, I don't know why this is such a huge and horribly shitty trend. But it's like when kids, you know, if parents are like, oh, you're in your room all day, you should get out more. And then the kid gets out of the room and they're like, oh, look who finally decided to join. And
I got this shit a lot.
Yeah. Where it's like parents are also punishing the good, you know, or maybe not necessarily good behavior, but the behavior they want to see. Yeah. And it's just very like.
And it's like,
why is that normal?
It's like,
why is that a thing?
That's a joke. You should just take it as a joke. But it's also like, no, you're making me.
Family, we're the only ones who can tease you like that.
And it's like, no, you're making me feel shitty about coming out. So now I don't want to come out, and you're gonna make me feel shitty about not coming out.
It's a vicious cycle.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's just, I don't know.
I also-
There's just a lot of unlearning.
I also
Family.
didn't know that we were Gen Z kids.
Yeah, I heard about that, but also in science. Okay, I can't say it like for sure, but what I've learned as science, I got my bachelorette's degree in science.
Bachelorette?
Yeah.
Ew.
Okay, someone on Twitter was like, "Oh, one of my students keeps calling it a bachelorette degree," and someone was like, "Shit, that was Elle Woods," or something like that. And I was like, "You're right. She would say that, and I would support her." But anywho, I also think we're at the border, but also there's not really a concrete way to measure generations. So I kind of take them with a grain of salt. Like, there's no way to know for sure, like,
You're gonna have different
when
answers
one
from different
stops
people.
and when one ends. And that's why it's so convoluted, because people are gonna say, "Oh, we're this. Wait, no, we're that. Actually, no, we're actually this." So I don't know. I don't know. I wouldn't say we can say Gen Z and millennial with certainty. But I guess if we have to categorize ourselves, I would say we're closer to Gen Z, if not Gen Z, whatever that means. But I don't think to this day, I don't think there's a 100% infallible way to measure generations. Just because, like, when, there's so many different variables.
There's
Like, how
also-
do we measure, like, a single generation?
Didn't someone call us like Gen X too or something, or is that something else?
I think we have been called Gen X before.
Yeah, just to like give us like a name. But
Yeah, but
I don't know. I feel
it's
like
so confusing.
I feel like Gen Z starts at like 2000.
I thought so too.
Just because they're children.
Yeah, I thought so too. But I don't know. The only way, like, because, before we were introduced to millennial and Gen Z, the way I saw, like, a generation was like, oh, there's my grandma, there's my mom, there's my me. There's my me? There's me.
My me, the little wee character. There it is.
And then there's me. And that's how I viewed generations. Like, there's my grandma, mom.
Yeah.
That's what I thought generation meant. But I don't think there's, like, people who aren't related, I don't know how to quantify it. I don't know if there's, like, a set way to say, like, this group of people, Gen Z.
Yeah. I think, because I also define that as, like, generation stuff, because that is just, like, generations. But I think, like, another way that I was thinking about it just now was, like, you've got, the generation before. I don't know why I chose to, like, define it by internet, but, like, there's the generation, like, before internet. Then there's our generation when internet was becoming a thing. And then there's the generation after where internet has already stabilized and become, like, a very prevalent thing.
Right.
So that's, like, 3 generations right there. And I think that we fell in that little middle generation of when it was, like, growing and, like, becoming a big thing.
Right.
And I feel like that's our generation, so maybe that's, like, X? I don't know. Oh,
I'm not sure.
Mike says... Mike might know because Mike is, like, 40.
Don't be mean.
Sorry, he's
No
45.
kidding, no. That's more. No kidding, no. Yeah.
It was before millennials,
I
so the 75 to 87, but...
Yeah.
So it was,
Maybe.
what, boomers, X, millennials, us, Z?
I guess so. I don't... I thought millennials were always called millennials because 2000 was the millennia. Was the... That's what I thought. But then people were saying Gen Z, and I was like, I don't know.
I don't know. These terms are fake.
Yeah.
People
That's
don't
what I'm
exist.
saying. There's no scientific way of, like, saying this group of people, this one generation, these group. Yeah. It's hard to say it by years, I think, because then, I don't know. It's like if you're just doing it by years, that's one thing. But we're defining generations kind of. I think more and more we're kind of leaning more towards, like, oh, what technology was prevalent at the time, and
I feel like just like what I feel like when the dominant, like, how do I say this? Because, okay, so if we take that example of, like, when the internet was, like, growing and, like, becoming a thing as an example, then, like, the dominant, like, pioneering force of everything was internet, was computers. And I think that was a generation. So I think that, like, with each generation, like, it changes when that dominant pioneering force changes. So, like, with us into the next generation, we had this pioneering force of the internet, computers, technology, and that kind of stuff. And then once it became stabilized, obviously that was no longer like the driving force, and it changed into something else. I don't know what the fuck it is, but like now
Anyone's guess,
now we're somewhere else. And so I think that was like that generational shift. But then like what came before, what came after, I don't know.
One thing I do know, fun facts for sure, is the reason why we feel so much older than we actually are, or
Trauma.
that, well, also because with the how widespread computers became, that came after we were born, and the shift from, you see like the first computers, like the first widespread computers that people that was commonplace to have in your home, and compare it to now, is such a fast and huge shift in terms of even just cell phones. I think when we were born, they were still like that brick thing with the antenna, and now seeing our cell phones come out to this is why we feel like we've aged much more rapidly, because we've experienced it, I think.
Hold on.
Too quickly?
Mike just sent me a picture.
Okay.
So this one is a little interesting, but like we said, there's no scientific way to define this. So this, is kind of up in the air, but somebody did make an infographic about it. But let's see. So I guess the way that they define like a generation is, there's the first of the quote unquote cohort born. And then after a certain period, then the last of them is born. And then it kind of goes until the first of them turns 70 and then the last of them turns 70. So it's just kind of like a weird little literally like an age definition. But so there's the lost generation, which is from 1883 to 1900. And then there's
lost. We don't know what happened to them. Abducted.
Roanoke. But then there's the greatest/GI generation, which is 1901 to 1927. Silent generation, or the lucky few, is 1928 to 1945. Then there's the baby boomers, or the me generation, which is 1946 to 1964. Then Gen X, which is 1965 to 80. Millennials, or Generation Y, is 81 to 96. Gen Z is 97 to 2012. And then Generation Alpha, which is the early 2010s, presumably to the mid-20s.
Interesting. So I wonder how they... So it's just when everyone at that point reaches 70, right?
Yeah. So when I don't know exactly, like, what determines, like, why this person is the first of their cohort, but it looks like... Yeah, because, like, if you look at it here, like, it doesn't really even, like, line up that well. Hang on.
Yeah.
Let me...
That's why I feel like there's just too much discrepancy.
Yeah, it really is. But let me see if I can figure this shit out. Oh, I think I almost accidentally closed this stream.
Goodbye.
By on accident.
Xbox One, turn off.
Oops.
Sorry, I hope no one had an Xbox on. Sorry, I hope no one had... Yeah, sorry. Anywho.
Please.
Did you get it to work?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, okay. Cool.
That's why I bought the
Oh, the USB.
Yeah. So that I can use this one here. Doink.
Bonk.
Bonk. Should work. I hope it works.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, yeah. Perfect. So let's go back here, and then we'll add, I guess, a window.
Oh, I'm crunchy.
We'll call this
okay.
phone.
Okay, never mind. I thought we were calling the image something.
Not the toolbar. Is it this?
I think so.
Maybe this one. There we go.
Yeah, we did it.
Yeah. So if we look at this, guess I'll put it like there, or maybe there. But yeah, so if we look at this image right here, which might be kind of small for you guys, but we're just gonna pretend like I am a qualified professional. This is the picture that Mike just texted me, which is essentially just like, you know, all this extra stuff. So if we zoom in, God, this is very sexy. Just saying. But yeah, so we start here. We've got like all these big like wars and stuff down at the bottom. We've got World War II or World War One.
There we go. Move on.
Great Depression, World War II, Korean, Vietnam, Cold, Web 1, Web 2, and the War on Terror. So all this kind of stuff. And then, you know, you've got all these like generational names and like the years up top. Then over here you've got what defines a generation, which is, you know, first of the cohort born, then, you know, turns 18. It's all defined by like the first and the last of the cohort, but it never tells you how the cohort itself is formed or when it starts.
Right.
So it's like it's a little odd, but I mean it is
with a grain of salt.
Yeah, it is what it is, I suppose. So we're done with that.
Cool, Testerin.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah.
Now we can play TikToks and stuff too.
Oh yeah, true.
Whoops. Let me close that. But yeah, I mean, plain and simple, you know, as we move into us having our own kids, you know,
Good Lord. I can't imagine myself carrying a child.
That's why we're adopted.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like, you know, as we move into having our own children and having our own, you know, next generation, birthing the next generation.
But you said we're adopting.
Or quote unquote birthing. But yeah, it's just like, you know, as we move into that realm of reality, then it falls upon us to make sure that our children don't fall into these, you know, vicious cycles that we've like talked about today, because we want them to, I feel like ideally children will be comfortable like with their parents and stuff and not have to deal with being scared of asking them questions or being scared of like, oh no, what if I did this thing wrong? Like I'm gonna get punished for it. They should be able to be open with their parents, which is something that I feel like a lot of people in our generation don't have the luxury of having.
Yeah. All right, everyone. Okay. Yeah, but yeah, I think it's really it's really up to us, I think, to break the cycles.
Yeah.
Ultimately.
And
really.
of course, it's like it's not that, you know, magically with us giving birth to our future generations or whatever. Like obviously, it's not gonna immediately solve all the problems, solve like all these vicious cycles in society or end them, but it's a step. You know, it's a little baby step.
And I think the more and more normal it becomes,
yeah.
You know, it can only get normal if we normalize it and really perpetuate it and talk about it, you know, versus keeping it hush hush, keeping it just family matters, you know? Yeah. So I think, yeah.
And I think
that ever happens for, oh, sorry.
No, you're fine. It's once the idea of children being able to like be open and like, you know, talk to their parents or whatever, once that becomes a normal idea again, because like obviously there's like a lot of parents out there and stuff who do have those kinds of relationships with their children,
right?
But a lot of people are like, whoa, that's
rare.
Weird. Yeah. So once like that idea becomes normal or becomes more popular than like the opposite, then I think that is kind of the tipping point, because then that scale of the spectrum tilts in favor of the opposite direction.
Right.
And then that way the, you know, parents being mean to their kids becomes less normal. And so people are like, hey, that's weird, and then they'll like get called out on that, and then it's just another step.
Just like Bean Dad. Everyone calm
Bean
out.
Bean Dad. Get his ass. He said the N-word with a hard R.
Oh, God. There's just a lot to unpack there.
It really is.
In general. But yeah.
I think we've maxed out. Do you have anything else to say or add? Because I feel like we could go on this for like probably forever.
probably could. Yeah.
But I mean, I have to move shit into my new apartment too, so I've got.
Yeah,
I was planning on like having this one a little bit short, maybe only like an hour and a half, and now we're at like 2 deep and we haven't even started goodbye. But I mean, yeah, it's.
I think that's it.
It's gonna be slow going. Just like unlearning a lot of negative behaviors that are seen in society and stuff. Just like unlearning a lot of the stuff that, you know, parents might have accidentally imbued their child with. Or intentionally,
Yeah.
which is unfortunate.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's baby steps to unlearn that kind of stuff for not only ourselves, but also the people around us and our families that currently exist or will exist. So it's all a matter of just, you know, pushing forward through what's difficult.
And being open to criticism, I think, too. There's a whole all of cancel culture where, like, I can't change my mind, or I can't make mistakes, or, like, you know, or I'll lose the support of all these people. And it's like, it's shitty how commonplace has become on the internet. But I think, not just on the internet, but in real life, we should really be open to constructive criticism and making mistakes and learning from those mistakes, because ultimately we are human. So,
and humans make mistakes. That's okay.
we're
We are not robots. We're
definitely not
grossly
robots.
logical.
I mean, I might be, but sorry, I was trying to find the right time to say this, but I'm not from here. I'm not from around here. I'm from Wisconsin. Oh.
I have a friend who talks shit, can't take it, and cannot handle being told that they're wrong about something, even if it's super politely. Yeah, I definitely know people like that too. It's like one of the things that like irks me just like very quickly, as opposed to like other things, is when people can't admit that they were wrong, or people like refuse to apologize.
Right.
And like
most dads.
Most dads, yeah.
Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah, I mean,
Seinfeld music.
Yesterday I was, you know, wrapping up stream and stuff, and I heard my curtain open, and I was like, "What the fuck?" And like, obviously, it was my brother, and you know, like,
it was a ghost.
No, yeah, like it was just my brother, like coming in, like to my room while I was wrapping up stream and stuff, and then like I turned around, and I was like, "What do you want?" And he was like, "Oh, nothing," and he was just like, "Hey," like talking to my stream, and I was like, "Okay, what the fuck?" And then I like ended stream, and then like I went outside, and I was like, "Can you like just don't do that anymore? Like don't come in while I'm like streaming and stuff." And he was like, "Oh, but I wasn't gonna do anything." And I was like, "Then like why the fuck would you like come in? Like I'm telling you not to do it because this like I might not get paid from it that much, but this is my job, you know. Don't come in and don't like try and distract me unless it's something like very urgent. And even then, like you can just text me or something." So it's just like, you know, I told him that, and then he like just like got mad at me and was like yelling at me, and it's like, all I'm looking for is you to say, "Okay, sorry, I won't do it again." That's all I want. That's all I'm asking for. And it's like, it truly is not that difficult to realize that. And it's just like, it like that doesn't make sense to me. But I mean, obviously we're different people, so it's whatever. But it's just being able to admit that you're wrong, being able to, you know, handle somebody telling you that you did something wrong, and then being able to man up to it is like Xana said, just very, very sexy. It's something that more people should be open to doing, but unfortunately, for whatever reason, it's just not.
I don't know. I guess it's also human, maybe, to be afraid of being called out, or, and just not want to take it. But
yeah, but people make mistakes, and we learn and we grow. It's being called out isn't a bad thing.
Yeah. Unfortunately, like call-out culture is really making it seem like it's just like end-all, be-all kind of thing.
Because the internet just jumps at any chance to tear people down for no reason.
Yeah, unfortunately. So I think it really feeds on that fear of like not wanting to be wrong.
Yeah.
I think, and just multiplying it by 10.
Yeah. So we live in hell.
It is what it is.
But it's up to us. It's up to us to bring out children and raise them in ways that they aren't going to do that to other people.
Right.
Because if we can make not doing that to other people more normal than the opposite, then I think overall, you know, society will get a little bit better.
What does that mean? Society would look like this.
Yeah, exactly. We would be in a utopia.
If Dad said sorry. Yeah.
If people just were able to
Mm-hmm.
focus on their wrongdoings and stuff. But Lord knows it'll take fucking forever for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we'll wrap it up for here today because we've got some stuff to do. I've got to move over all the technology stuff. I mentioned this in the Discord, but I'll say it here too. I am moving all of like my setup and all of the internet stuff over to the new apartment today because the internet is disconnecting from here tomorrow and is also reconnecting at the new apartment tomorrow as well. But when I asked when, they were just like, oh, sometime. And I was like, it's not a fucking answer. So tomorrow I might not even be able to stream because I might not have internet at the new place. So I will keep you guys updated on that. It's just a matter of when Spectrum decides to do things. But other than that, after I finish moving everything in, it's going to be a lot more streams, a lot more consistency, and a lot more, just time here with you guys because that's what I'm trying to do in the long run. I've got the month off anyway. So expect more, and we'll see what happens because you guys really like this podcast. This podcast pulls hella numbers. So maybe I'll just do this instead of streaming games. Just kidding.
It's okay.
I'm going to stream games. But yeah.
Glad you guys enjoyed.
Yeah. Thank you guys for...
Sorry.
Thank you guys for coming. Thank you guys always for supporting us as always. And we'll see you next Sunday. I almost said Saturday. Sunday. So we'll see you guys next Sunday. And I will see you guys whenever I get internet in my new apartment. So thank you all for